with that, we can go to Minnesota versus Golden State, just so we
Hmm.
can go ahead and get to the Western Conference Final. Minnesota versus Golden State. That series I picked Golden State to win it. This is obviously prior to Stephen Curry, pulling his hamstring, and I still feel strongly that Golden State would have gotten it done. I think Steph, even though that team has so many inefficiencies on it, and I spoke about that in one of the shorts I put out last week. That team has a lot of inefficiencies on it I have to look at Steve Kerr and management as to how they built this group. But Steph to me would have been too much of a would have been too much of an issue. And my biggest and the reason why I say that is because Anthony Edwards had so many slow starts to games in that series. And even for a team that was as hampered as they were in Golden State, I thought they were able to keep games a lot closer than what they should have been based on what Minnesota has, like based on having Ant, having Julius Randle, having the pieces that they have, Nas Reed and Jay McDaniels. I thought they were able to keep games closer than what they should have, and I thought a lot of that played in part to Anthony Edwards being the best player and not starting out quickly. He obviously picked it up in the second halves. That's where he really elevated his play. And I thought Julius Randle did a fantastic job of picking up the slack. In the meantime, when Anthony Edwards didn't quite have it going. But that team, and if that's how they're going to play, then I don't see them. I just don't see the matchup with them and OKC going well because OKC's a team that to me can defend everywhere on the floor. They got 10 guys that can go defend. And I got my thoughts on OKC in that matchup, but what were some of your thoughts on Minnesota versus Golden State?
I think Minnesota, like you said, Ant did start off a little slow in a couple of those games, and then I think even Golden State they took advantage of that as well. Saying okay, he's not really playing. Jimmy kind of stepped up when he did, and they won a couple of games in that series. But it kind of goes back to like they can't, uh, sorry, my music came on. Hold on.
You good?
All right, stop. There we go. My bad. I'm just gonna start over from that.
Now you good. Now you good. Keep going, bro. You got it.
So I just think honestly when you look at it, it goes to just Minnesota at the time. They just had to take advantage of Steph in out. Even if like Steph would have got in, I think I did pick Minnesota to win that series.
You did
But
pick
even I
Minnesota.
kind of agree. I kind of agree with you as well because when you look at the matchup, Mike Conley would have had to guard Steph. That would have been probably the matchup in itself. That would have been the favorite for Golden State. And you said like Curry still he's a sniper. He's still gonna get his points, and that would have just prolonged the deficit that Golden State had the ability to do. Draymond Green kind of showed that he's still one of the best defenders at his age. Jimmy Butler still showed he's more efficient at his age. So if they would have had a complete healthy roster again, I don't think, and I agree with you, I don't think Minnesota would have won that series probably. And that's just nothing on Ant.
And,
That's
and
nothing on Julius. I'm like, go ahead. Nah, you probably got something. What you got?
uh, oh no, my biggest thing was going to be that with Steph being on the floor, it creates more open space for the offense. Now you
Yeah.
you notice how drastically different the offense. Like they can't shoot the three outside of Steph. That 3-point shot
Mhm.
isn't there, and so Steph being there on the court allows for Jimmy Butler to get easier buckets, allows for Draymond to get easy buckets, and allows for guys like Buddy Hield as well to get easier buckets, which obviously helps for the flow of that offense. And you start
Mhm.
to see that without Steph on the court, Jimmy Butler, to me, at this point, I don't know if he can still be the same guy he was in Miami that can
Yeah.
carry a unit. And especially that quick of a turnaround from being traded in the middle of the season to being there that late to now having to be the staple piece with Steph being out. I just don't think they had enough time, and nor was that roster built for them to be without any of their key pieces in order to make a real run. But my fault. Continue with your point, my boy.
But also, you got to remember. No, you made a good point. Also, think about the impact Jonathan Kaminga could have had with Steph. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people were talking about his play throughout the series, but he's a guy who feeds off of Steph's play. You know what I'm saying? He's just a guy that just really impacts their offense and try to and makes good presence on defense too. So I mean, no credit lost from Minnesota, and I hate to like kind of just shift this over to like just to go to state and then what ifs, but Julius Randle showed up when he did, and eventually got it on when he did, and so they won the series. I mean that's just what it is, but it's just I feel like this is one of those what if series. You know what I'm saying? Again, it's probably would have been one of those series, just like Denver, and OKC. You know what I'm saying? The experience versus the youth in a way. I think the only and
Mm-hmm.
the veteran that you do have on that team that's really more experienced is Mike Conley. So you have guys who've been to the finals. You have guys who won the finals. You have guys who made deep runs, who were impact players on deep runs. And then you have Anthony Edwards, not taking nothing away from him, and Julius Randle. So who are good in their own right. But yeah, man, like
Right.
it's just definitely a what if series. What if it was a completely healthy team on both ends? Like, how would the impact be, and how would the outcome be?
Right. Absolutely. And that's